Howdy, students. In this chapter, we're going to focus on why you should care about climate change. We don't care about changes in temperature or precipitation or sea level or anything else for their own sake. Rather, we care about these things because of how it affects people and other things that we do care about. To understand how big the impacts of future climate change might be, let's review what we saw in the last chapter. We see here that we can expect global warming of a few degrees Celsius by 2100. This probably doesn't sound too bad. This slide shows 10 days of temperature from January 2019 in College Station, Texas. Over this period, temperatures varied widely from 1 degree Celsius to 23 degrees Celsius, a swing of 22 degrees Celsius or about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Over the year, temperatures in College Station can vary by 40 degrees Celsius. If you consider the size of the temperature variations that you personally experience, a change in the global average temperature of a few degrees may sound completely negligible, but it's not. Although the temperature in any single place can vary by seemingly huge amounts, the local variations you experience tend to cancel when averaged over the entire globe. Thus, global average temperature variations are actually quite small. This is a plot from Chapter 2, and it shows that the climate has warmed about 1 degree Celsius in the past 150 years, and year-to-year variations are small, just a few tenths of a degree. Thus, global average warming of a few degrees Celsius would be extremely significant. This plot extends from the depth of the last ice age, 20,000 years ago, to the medieval warm period, about 1,000 years ago, to the Little Ice Age, about 300 years ago. Today, we are here, and future warming is this part of the curve. If we just consider the climate change of the past, the important point to realize is that total global average temperature from the last ice age to the present only changed about 4 degrees Celsius. But the last ice age was like a different world. 20,000 years ago, glaciers thousands of feet thick covered much of North America, and sea levels were 300 feet lower. If people had pets back then this is what they would have looked like. If one of these had an accident in the house, you do not want to be the one who has to clean that up. If we compare the world of 4 degrees cooler to the world today, there are huge differences. So warming of the global average by a few degrees Celsius is enough to transition the planet from an ice age to a mostly ice-free interglacial, just a few degrees. If we compare that temperature increase with that predicted to occur by 2100, it's comparable. Let me repeat, the warming we expect over this century is comparable to the warming that occurred since the last ice age. We know how much a transition out of the last ice age changed the Earth. The Earth looks completely different today, so it's reasonable to imagine enormous changes in the Earth system if we warm the climate by a few degrees this century. But it's even worse than that. It took 10,000 years for the Earth to warm out of the last ice age. That's a warming rate of a few hundredths of a degree per century. Now compare that to the warming of a few degrees per century predicted for the 21st century. Predicted warming for the century is 100 times faster than the geologically rapid warming coming out of the last ice age. So we're looking at a huge amount of warming experienced in an incredibly short period of time. This should scare the crap out of you. On the other hand, you will sometimes hear people say that we can ignore this problem because climate has always changed. It is technically true that humans have survived large climate changes before, such as the transitions into and out of the last few ice ages. However, modern human society, with billions of people living in large urban regions and reliant on large-scale infrastructure and agriculture, is only 1 or 2 centuries old. Over that period, the climate has been quite stable. So modern human society has never experienced the kind of climate change we're predicting for the next few decades. Thus, history doesn't give us any reason to think that climate change will be easy to deal with. In fact, as we'll talk about in this chapter, there are lots of reasons to think that predicted warming will be a serious challenge for us. We'll pick up here in the next video when we talk about how people actually experience the impacts of this climate change.